all beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. Woo! Yes, I am out here. It is very cloudy, but I am not complaining. Where's the sun? It's out here. It's out here somewhere. It's just covered up. So anyway, I love you all, and I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. And also, if you are new to my YouTube channel, yes, you! I have a new subscriber. Thank you for joining me here with this family here. You know, it's not just about Starlight, it's about everyone that's here with me. We are family, and thank you for joining my YouTube channel. And those of you who are new to my YouTube channel, you could get, and people that have been here for a long time, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you could leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you could share my videos with your family, your friends. Starlight was guilty of feeding some birds today, so yes, yes, I was feeding some birds. So yeah, I'm gonna put some birds out here. And I'm trying to think, I'm gonna say a dog, you know, so I'm always seeing dogs. And so anyway, yeah, you could share my videos with them, and you could check out my playlist. Plus, you could find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, those of you who would love to help Starlight by sending her extra love on my Cash App, you can, and I will have that information here. Ping! And yes, thank you for those of you who have. And when you give, guess what? God blesses you even with more than what you gave out. So there's a lot of people that hold tight on things because they feel like they're going to run out of something. But when you let go, that's when God blesses you in so many different ways. You just never know, you know. It's amazing. So you know, don't worry about what you are holding on to. Is by letting go, God is going to reward you one way or another, as long as you do it with the right heart. So that being said, also a big, huge thank you to all of you, and yes, the new subscriber out there. Thank you for joining. Not just Starlight, but we are all family here. Not that we're always going to get along. Do you always get along and agree with your family? No, right? If you're honest with yourself, you know. So no, we're not always going to get along, and we're not going to always see eye to eye, but that's okay. That's why we're multi-dimensional beings having a human experience. We're learning how to be human here, how to get along, how to love each other, how to love ourselves. So anyway, I love you, and I appreciate all of you who have been there and still here. You didn't take off anywhere, right? No, you're still here with me. So thank you for all of you who are still here, loving the support in Starlight. And today's message, and this is so important because I had to learn this a long time ago, and it's something that I still have to watch out for. And you know, if you met me in person, you know, you might have tried to shake my hand or do this or hug me, or you know, something. You know, some of you might have just stood back and did your thing or whatever. But this video is about, you know, wolves in sheep's clothing. Watch out. Yeah, you know, a lot of people, they trust people too quick. I just met a guy at a church functioning because it was, you know, they had a Thanksgiving meal on Thanksgiving Day, and I really appreciated the food and the people and all that stuff, and just getting a letter together and not being alone. And you know, I met people there, and then today I met somebody that I met there, and first thing, they're like, they saw me and they recognized me, and they're like, "Hey friend, who are you talking?" You know, they were talking to me. How's that possible? You know, I don't even know your name. He doesn't even know my name. Who am I anyway? I'm your friend, but you don't know my name. You don't know, you know? So watch out there, because there's a lot of people out there, they're disguising themselves as a sheep, but they're not a sheep. They're a wolf. Woof, woof, you know? And so you got to really watch out. They could know the Bible inside and out. Does that make them a sheep. You know, that's what you got to watch out for, is that there's lots of people. I met a guy today, and he wanted to shake my hand, and a lot of times people will try to reach out and shake my hand, or try to do the bump, you know, or it could be, here, give me a hug, and then a shake, and then a bump. You know, that is kind of the order that a lot of people do with Starlight. Starlight doesn't hug, Starlight doesn't do shaking hands, and I'll do like, this is what my bump, I think it's stupid anyway. I don't like the bump thing, fist bump, you know, because that was from COVID, you know, like can't shake hands, but now we're going to do this. So Starlight's kind of funny way of doing that is I don't touch the person, but I'll act like, you know, like, so you gotta protect yourself, and you gotta teach this to your children, you know, when they're growing up. Is just because somebody claims that they're a Christian, just because somebody even goes to a building that is called a church, it doesn't mean that they're a Christian. You know how many unclean spirits, people that have unclean spirits go in, you know, to the building that's called a church? Why do you think a lot of the churches are corrupt now? It's because unclean people went in there, and that's what this is all about, is to, you know, reach those people that have unclean spirits, to win them over to Christ, so then they can be godly, and then they can, you know, just like the pyramid scam kind of thing is, then they can go out and reach people, and they, you know, and then they can bring people more to Christ, so they, you know, they can be of service to God, you know, to love, you know, but that doesn't happen overnight, you know. So there's a lot of people out there. Everywhere I go, I see it all the time. I mean, like, people are drawn to me, you know, like a moth to the flame, because they see the light, and they see my energy. They can feel my energy, see the light, you know, because right here, you know, where I'm right now is, I gotta just bring this down, but I'm on my yoga mat, and that's because I'm clearing out negative energies, and I'm lining up my chakras, clearing out some old programs that, you know, I was taught when I was a kid, old programs when I was in school, you know, clearing out things that I don't need anymore. I gotta let that stuff go, you know. So I'm working on myself, and I prayed. I started my morning off. What did Starlight do today? I woke up this morning praying and talking to God, and praying for people, my family, a close friend that I've known for years, you know, getting to know for years, and praying for other people, and reading my Bible. What else did I do? I did yoga this morning. I went and took a shower today, went and ate a lunch, you know, got together with homeless people that go the same place, and you know, meditated. This is how my day has gone. It's working on myself. It's an every day, all the time, you know, learning to be balanced, you know. And so there's a lot of things to be balanced, but, you know, to do that inner work, and to have the energy, and like I said, you know, a lot of people are drawn to me like a moth to the flame, and that's why I really gotta, you know, the dark people that have unclean spirits, it's in the Bible. You know, people that have spirits. There's a lot of people that have spirits, and you might not even be aware of that. Even when people drink alcohol, you talk about spirits, you know, and then they over, you know, when they get intoxicated because they drink too much, well, you're open up a doorway for unclean spirits to enter in. Even if you do drugs, you're opening up a doorway, you know, for those unclean spirits to come in. And then there's a whole lot of other things in the Bible. If you do these certain things, you're opening up a doorway for those unclean spirits to enter in your life, and you might not even be aware of it. You might think you're all fine and you're all right, and you're going around and not even being aware that you got unclean spirits. Do you think people that have unclean spirits know that they have unclean spirits in them? Some of them could, because there are places that they can go and they know there's something wrong, because they go back and forth. You know, I do know somebody right now that they're serving two masters. They're serving two masters. So, you know, how can you do that? How can you serve two masters? You know, in the Bible way, serving the devil and serving God, right? So you could wake up, hey, I'll read my Bible. Okay, so that would be one master. And then later on, now they go and do something totally against God, and now they're serving the devil. They're trying to figure out where to go, what to do, but how can you get anywhere when you're serving you can't serve two masters. You can try, but it's going to screw up everything that you're even working for. I mean, by the time you go this way, the other is going to tell you to go this way, and then you go that way, and then it's going to, you'll never get anywhere because you can't serve two masters. You could try, but in the Bible, God doesn't want us to serve two masters. And like this morning, I went to shake hands to this man that says he's doing a ministry out there and out in the woods somewhere to reach those people that are homeless, and without, and trying to do a ministry out there in the woods somewhere. Well, you got to be careful. I don't know that person. He saw my sticker on my car, and he came to me today, and he wanted to, nope, and nope, huh? Yeah, sorry, but I don't know you. I had to learn this on this journey here, is that there's a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. I actually went out with a guy. I thought he was a Christian. I was being taught. I went to church and was learning the discipleship classes. I did 2 years of that, and that was a way of programming me, and also it was supposed to be a way of protecting me, so that, they do this to kind of like make sure that you get in the church and you stay in the church and that you can't get out, by programming you with all these, discipleship courses. And at the same time, it's supposed to protect you and let you to learn about people that are going to proclaim that they're Christians that are not, so I fell for that. And how did I fall for it? Well, he was doing everything a Christian was doing. I was out on bus ministry at the church I was going to. He was out on a bus ministry at the church that he was going to. I was in church every single time the doors were open. He was inside the church every time the doors were open. I was out knocking on doors on the weekend because I had a bus ministry. He was going out knocking on doors and having a bus ministry, picking up kids. But was he a Christian? No. Yeah. What? Yeah. He was wearing a mask. Everybody in the church knew it, except for me. They seen his two sides. They seen how he was one way, at the church and another way at the house. His son, actually this guy's son, ratted his dad out. His son went through hell. One way at the church, so the kid learned how to put a mask on and really cover up good. Yeah, I could just pretend I'm a Christian and then go home, live like the devil, without nobody knowing about it. So I learned the hard way it was a painful experience. And that's when my whole life went upside down in a big totally flip. Got caught up into a cult church just because I believe this man was a Christian, and he was not a Christian. He was wearing, just like that cartoon what I was watching when I was a kid. And I don't know if I'm going to remember the cartoon, but it was a dog, and he was supposed to, a sheepdog, I think, or something like that, and he was supposed to watch the sheep. And then there was always a wolf, that was always trying to get the sheep. So this dog, his job was to, him and this, it was actually the wolf, I think, that was dressed up like a dog or whatever, but they would always, go out in the woods, and there was like a tree, and they would punch in, to start their job to protect the sheep. But the dog was dressed up, he would even dress up like a sheep, and pretend he's one of the sheep out in the field. But the dog, even though his hair was over his eyes, he was, he was smart. He knew that, there was something up with this, even this wolf would even have like a, hide behind a bush, and try to get those sheep. So you got to really watch out, just because somebody, I meet them all the time on this journey. I get people, they're like, they're all excited about meeting me. And then before you know it, boom, where did they go, Is that because we don't line up. There's something that did not line up. And so you really got to watch out with the kind of people that you spend time with. You could say, hey, they said they're a Christian. They told me the story how they got saved, and they go to church. They read their Bible. Yeah, I know somebody right now. They read Proverbs and Psalms. That's it, though. That's all they do. Now, when I talk to that person about God, their way it's totally not going the way God wants them to go, but they got a spirit inside of them. They're not even aware of it. They think they're fine. They think they're good. They think that they're living for God. But you can't, there's things that we've done in our past, right? And if you're saying you're living for God, you got to let that shit go. If you're holding so much on the past, you could have done some wicked stuff in the past. But if you got like, there's people that what they do is they go back there and they play with that stuff. But then they want to act like they're, Christians. And yeah, none of us are going to be perfect. But if this is years after years after years going back and stuff that God is definitely not happy with, and then, to act like, hey, I'm a Christian. Why are you back there doing that stuff? Didn't you let go of that long time ago? I mean, how many years was that? And you're still playing in that stuff? So really ask yourself, you might be one of these people, because people even that claim that they're Christians can get deceived thinking that they really did get saved and they did get right with God. I'll tell you what, when I got saved, when I asked Jesus in my heart, when I confessed my sins, I felt like I was a part of the floor. I bawled my ass off. I felt so guilty. And you know what? I knew I was saved because the Holy Spirit inside of me, after a year later, I was in a situation, in a relationship in the middle of nowhere, didn't have a car, and God had to work through some stuff. And once I got free from that relationship, I was searching for Jesus. Nobody told me anything about going to church. I had it in me already. I was searching for Jesus. I wanted to learn about Jesus. And then I started going to different churches. Even though the first one was, they were lying to me. But you know what? I didn't last. I left. I went to another one. And then another one, because I ended up moving. And then I stayed put for 5 years. So, and I did. I got, I worked on myself. I was letting go. It was painful. Just like working on your shadows. It's a painful experience. It will, if you didn't cry and if you didn't, pour your guts out on the ground, when you got saved, it really would make me wonder if you even got saved or not, because that's what my experience was. I can't talk about anybody else, but I did. It's like, have you ever been so drunk and wasted that you had to hug a toilet bowl? And you're not even at your house and the toilet bowl is nasty, and you're like, you're looking down in this disgusting toilet and you gotta throw up. When you get saved, you're like, ugh. It is like, it's a painful experience to just let out and just release that stuff that's not good for you, and not that when you become a Christian that everything's going, no, you got a lot of work to do, a lot of cleanup to do, so you're not going to have it right, and nobody's perfect. So no matter how many years you've been saved, people are going to, I got flaws, I know it. That's okay though. God wants me to love myself with my flaws. So be careful out there, the ones that you get so close to, about hurrying up and going into that church building, and, somebody says, hey, yeah, I've been, come join my church. I've been here for 5 months. 5 months is a joke. you know, I can't trust your word by saying 5 months that you've been in there and you claim that this is a spirit-filled church. Because what if everybody in the church is wearing a mask? So be careful out there, the people that you bring in your life and the people that you trust. You should not trust everyone that you meet. If you do, you're in for a rude awakening. They're going to teach you. I thought that way when I was younger. I thought, hey, I'm going to trust everyone. And wow, it taught me a lot of lessons. So anyway, I love you so much. And you could give this video a thumbs up. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave me a message down below. Beep, beep, beep. And you can share my videos with your family or friends, a cat, a dog. You can check out my playlist. And you can find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. I love you all. Watch out. Just because somebody can quote verses, just because somebody can teach you some wisdom in the Bible, just because they go to a building called a church, just because they help out a handicapped person or a homeless person, just because all these things, it don't mean shit. You got to spend time. They say to know a person, you got to live with them. Believe me, that's how I found out this person was a wolf in sheep's clothing. They were not a sheep. Because at the house it was on. And then I got to see, oh wow, this is weird, I got to see both sides. And wow, that was a lesson. So anyway, I love you. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight, love, light, and peace.